Hello folks, so here I am again with another video story, and this video story for me is pretty extraordinary, and it's so unusual that I thought that it was worth sharing. So today being Saturday 14th of December 2019, I had a classical concert to attend at the Palais des Nations here in Geneva, Switzerland, and the concert started at 5 p.m. so I left home around 4:30, and I left home around 4:15, I'd say. And so when I left and I was getting out of the driveway, I realized that oops, I'd forgotten something very, very important, which was my entrance pass to get into the Palais des Nations to be able to go and watch the concert. So obviously without that pass, there's no way that I could get into the building. I couldn't get through security. So I parked my car on the side, and then I walked down the driveway and I went back into the apartment to get the pass. So I got the pass because somehow technology failed me, in the sense that I was not able to download the pass onto my mobile phone running on Android. So anyway, I decided that I needed to be on the safe side, the paper version of the entry pass into the Palais des Nations. So now with my entry pass, I got back into the car and I sped down, trying to get to the Palais before the door opened at 10 to 5. So I got to the Palais des Nations around 4:40. So I was still in time. I just threw my car somewhere, close by the Palais des Nations, because there wasn't a lot of parking possibilities around the Palais. And so I managed to find a spot. It wasn't quite a proper parking spot, but it was space enough to park my car there briefly. And so when I got out, I said a little prayer that, oh my God, I hope I don't get a fine, or worse, even worse, I hope my car is not towed away. So I make my way towards the Palais des Nations, and then of course there was a queue, but I was a bit curious because I saw there were some people that were formally dressed, because the dress code was strictly black suit in black, evening wear. So I noticed some were very casually dressed, even in canvas shoes and trainers. So there was a man also who had the same question as I did: are we in the right queue? So we got talking, and he was wondering, are we in the right queue? And I told him, I think we are. I think this is the only way in, at least if you're on foot. But of course, if you come by car and you have special diplomatic status, then you can just drive through. And so he was like, okay. And then he was on the phone with somebody else, and that person, from what I overheard of the conversation, had driven through, seemed to have that diplomatic status to be able to drive through into the Palais. But he, on the other hand, could not, so he was like me. He had to enter by foot, and he had to enter through security checks. But this is not to say that those with diplomatic status do not have to go through security, even if they go through by car. So anyway, while standing in the queue, he asked me politely whether I could help him secure his bow tie, because it seemed to have come off. And I said, sure. So he bent down because he was quite tall, and I secured, fastened his bow tie. It was a clip, a hook, and so I hooked it up properly for him, and he thanked me. And then, that was that. And then we continued in the line, and he got to security first. He was checked, and I went through security as well. And then, he continued on his way. He was still on the phone with this person, and I continued on my way. So it was raining. So, it's like a 50-meter walk to the E building. That's the new wing of the Palais des Nations. So I got in, and then I headed towards the coach service, where I handed in my coat, and they gave me a ticket so that I could come back and retrieve it after the concert. So I put the ticket into my bag, and then I made my way up the stairs to the first floor, and to enter into the concert human rights chamber, which is room 20. So I entered, I found a spot, and I sat down, and then, soon after the concert started. And so the concert more or less started around 5:30, because at the start of the concert, at the beginning, there were speeches made by a representative from the Spanish government, and they made reference also to the Chinese government, so they co-sponsored, I believe.
Discrimination and intolerance. This, in turn, violates the protection of civil, social, and economic rights.
Anyway, so then the concert started, and so, classical music, and so we listened for about, I'd say 35 minutes of the concert. Before there was or it could have been even 45 minutes, and then there was the entr'acte, meaning the break. So I quickly got up, I dashed to the bathroom. I needed to fix a few things, because I have this dress that I like, but there is just this peephole here that I'm not so comfortable with, and so I just hide it with my with my scarf or wrap. So I wanted to go and check to see whether everything was okay. So I went to the toilets, and so I spent quite a while in there. I came out, there was a queue, usually with women, and in the toilet where you want to fix up the makeup, the hair, the clothes, whatever. So anyway, there were quite a few women in there, and so I had to queue, and then it got to my turn. I went into the toilet, I came back. There was still a queue, to even wash your hands. There was a queue to dry, and eventually I got out of the toilet. And this toilet was the toilet to your right when you leave the human rights chamber, right? So then somehow I still wasn't satisfied with fixing my look and everything, so I wanted to be double sure that I had put in check the scarf and that it wouldn't sort of move. So I went to the toilet again, but this time I went to another toilet, and this was the toilets to the left of the human rights chamber. And so I headed towards the toilet, and there was a long queue. The queue was much longer than the one that I had left in the other toilet to the right of the human rights chamber. Anyway, so I was now in the toilet. I was waiting my turn, and eventually my turn came. I went into the toilet. I did all that I needed to do, and then I washed my hands. I wiped my hands, and then I made my way out. And this time I was heading back to the chamber, because the second part of the concert was shortly to start, to resume. So as I was walking towards the human rights chamber, I noticed that there was somebody walking towards the human rights chamber as well, like me, but with her zip undone, and so she was walking and there were her undies showing. And so I quickly, went behind her and I told her, your zip is undone, so just wait. And so I pulled up her zip and made sure that, it was up and, and that she was, that I pulled up her zip, let's just put it simply. And I said, okay, you're okay now. And she said, oh, but you are such a nice, kind, good woman to have come to my aid. And I said, oh, I think it's normal. And as I was about to step away from this woman and enter the chamber, guess who came running towards this woman that I just helped zip up her evening gown? It was the very man that I had met earlier in the queue that I'd helped with his bow tie. And he was saying and he said to the woman, oh, but this is extraordinary. This is the same woman who helped me with my bow tie. And the woman said, really? But this is extraordinary. And I thought to myself, I said, yes, indeed, this is extraordinary. I mean, talk of coincidences. I mean, why did I leave the first toilet that is situated on the right of the human rights concept, human rights chamber, and go to the other toilet on the left? I could have just gone back into the chamber. I didn't really need to go to the toilet again because I had already been. But somehow, I don't know what it was, I felt uncomfortable and I just wanted to go to the toilet again. So I went into the toilet and there I really took a very long time, I really did. And there was quite a wait because there were quite a few people in the toilet. But so there was a long wait and I had to wash my hands, I had to dry my hands before I made my way out of the toilet. And then who did I see? The first thing I saw was a woman heading towards the human rights chamber with her zip undone. And this is where I spotted that, and I went to her and I said, hey, let me, you have your zip undone, I need to pull it up. And she was like, and then it happened to be this very man that I had met earlier. And she was therefore the woman that he was talking to on the phone while, I was standing behind him in the queue. And so I find this also extraordinary. I find yes, it's possible, it's a coincidence, but this kind of coincidence for me is just so not likely. I mean, the fact that this happened to be the very same woman, the wife of the man that I had helped, and I had helped this woman, not knowing the relationship and the connection that she had with this man. I think the story is extraordinary. And because it's extraordinary, I mean, these kind of coincidences for me just don't happen. I think that there is a message. I think that we are all supposed to be there at certain places at certain times for a particular purpose. And my purpose tonight was to help two people. One was the man and the other was his wife, and I didn't even know that they were related, and they all concerned clothing. It could have been that the woman could have dropped her purse or her phone or her lipstick, and I could have picked that, those items up for her, and it would have meant that I still would have helped her, but not helped her with an item of her clothing. But I helped her husband, and it was an item of his clothing. He too, I could have helped him, but it could have been something else. He could have dropped a pen, he could have dropped something, but it was an item of his clothing, and it was the same for the woman. So I don't know. say that I am too superstitious, and that I read too much into things, but no, this is an extraordinary story, and I thought that I would share this extraordinary story with you. So this is what transpired, this very extraordinary happening at my very first human rights concert at the Palais des Nations here in Geneva, Switzerland, in the Human Rights Chamber. So as you saw earlier, the Human Rights Chamber is extraordinary just because of the artwork on the ceiling, you know, and you know, it looks like the ocean, and it looks like the ocean at its best, you know, with different species of plant life and fish life, flora and fauna. But then you can also look at it and it looks as if the ocean is bleeding. It's bleeding with trash, it's bleeding with plastic, and that it's dying. So yeah, it's now up to us, because the ocean is bleeding, is crying, but at the same time the ocean holds so much beauty, so much promise, so much species, so much diversity. But it's up to us to decide what we want to do with the ocean, how we want to preserve it, whether we want to destroy it, you know. And each and every one of us, and each of the decisions that we make in what we consume and how we consume, will affect life in the ocean. So this brings me to the end of my video story. I hope you found the story extraordinary as I did. And as you know, I like to capture first, and this was the first for me, the first human rights concert in the Human Rights Chamber at the Palais des Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. This in fact is the 6th edition, but it means that I have missed all the previous 5, but I got to see the 6th. So this brings me to the end of my vlog. If you think my story is extraordinary, if you think that it really is unusual, and that it wasn't just a coincidence that I happened to help the husband and then later the wife, but that maybe there is a deeper message to it, and that, yeah, this is, I guess, the mystery. But having said that, I think that we're all supposed to be at a particular place at a particular time to do a particular work. And for me, this was to help 2 strangers who happen to be related, who happen to be connected, and I just happen to be that angel. So voila. So this is my interpretation of the situation. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do. Just hit the subscribe button. If you like the story, why don't you share it? It could be a blessing to somebody. If you like what you heard, then like the video. And yeah, like I said, subscribe to my channel to hear more of such extraordinary stories from me here in Geneva. And so until we next meet again for another extraordinary video, I will sign off here. So I will see you next time. In the interim, do take care, and remember to be a blessing to others, because by doing that, you're sowing a seed for yourself to be blessed in your time of need. I believe in that. I believe that whenever you give, you always receive, and that you are even more blessed when you give than when you receive. So on this note, I will wrap up my talk, and hope to see you in another video shortly. Until then, do take care. God bless. Bye.